it was one thing. I was a part of the NAACP. Okay, and we didn't like at all what was going on. The NAACP, because we were a part of them, had said, and they at the time, they didn't want to. All they needed, NAACP needed, was one case to take to court. And you get one case, take to court, then you go on about your business while we fight this thing through court, And as a part of the NAACP, we worked with them, paid our dues, and did basically what they had said to do.
Now, had you joined in high school or college?
I joined in high school.
So
I was a part of the NAACP in high school. Okay. And then it carried over, into college, and I had gotten into college, and I was part of the, the student government. I had joined the fraternity. I was an honor student. I was on the roll. And I could do what I wanted to do, and I really didn't have to study that hard. So life was good for me. And then the representatives of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee came along and began to tell us that we could cause change to happen more quickly by being active rather than passive. And that was right down my street. Because I had lived under certain circumstances. So I had no problem with causing change to happen quickly. And so they began to organize and tell us, how and what we needed to do and all those things. And we, followed through, did what we were supposed to do, whatever they directed us, and how to handle different things. We did that. We did whatever was necessary in order to make things move and turn around. What they said, this we found to be effective here and there. We need to do this, do that, and we did that. And in doing that, like we say, we we disrupted class.
Tell me what
that was, I think about that now, really and truly. We decided we was going to march downtown and protest, and we got everything set up, and we met at a location, and there were not enough students that showed up. So what we did is we went into the building, disrupting classes, pulling students out of class to march downtown. And now that I think about that, that might not have been so good. But at the time, it just seemed like that was the thing to do. If this is what I need to do to bring about change to the environment that I'm in, my thing at that time was, let's do it. Because change, I've lived under these circumstances long enough and nothing has happened. So let's try something new.
Okay. So, with the trying something new, when is the first time you march and end up going to jail?
Oh, the first time, going to jail, because the first time we marched, I didn't go to jail until after Dr. King came to town.
Okay.
The first time, yeah, it wasn't until Dr. King came to town that we marched and went to jail.
Okay. Well, when was the first time you ended up marching? Was it right after?
Right,
going
when we started that day, we decided we was going to march downtown, and we went in and disrupted classes. I mean, it was not good because we had guys who the instructor wanted to stop us, and one of our guys just picked the instructor up and moved him aside, you know. And and the sad thing, I'll never forget. Certain students came with us. Certain students wanted to come, but they couldn't. They had to remember what their parents had told them about not getting involved with, this or that. And, at the time, it did not sit well with me. And I probably said some things to them that I should never have said as I look back, But at the time this was going on, I was, from my perspective, I knew what needed to be done. And we were going to do it. And you needed to come along. When really and truly, that was a decision that I made, and you had the right to make your own decision. But we did. We pulled a large number of students out, marched them downtown, and that's where my trouble started.
Okay.
And because prior to that, I was, like I said, great. My records were good. Smart student. A nice guy, I knew how to keep, my sister was, I knew how to keep my nose clean and not get caught, And so I was good at that.
Now, once that ball starts rolling.
Once the ball, well, the thing is, I was respectful of my sister's position there at the college. So I would, at night, I would go up, support, march, but I didn't want to be in the forefront. Because like I said, my sister worked there, and she wouldn't dare try to tell me what to do. But she always said, think about what you're going to do, and think about your consequences, and then, you got to decide for yourself.
So she quietly supportive.
She quietly supportive. She never once said, don't do anything. But then when we marched them downtown, it was, I was with the group and we marched downtown, and once we got downtown, we were, on the sidewalks and everywhere. And like I said, the police came to me. He only came up to me was to give me instructions as to what to tell the marchers. And when he came up to me, I explained to him that, I didn't bring the people downtown. They came as individual people. And because we didn't have a permit. But you can't prevent individuals from walking downtown whenever they get ready to. And so I explained that to the policeman, and he told me to shut up and listen to him. Because he didn't want to hear what I was saying. He just wanted me to know what I needed to tell the people. And he gave me the instruction as to, what to tell the students, where to congregate and all of that. And while this was going on, the news media was there. And they had the camera on me, dealing with the policeman. And so that evening on the news, there I was, dealing with the police, looking like I brought those students downtown. So,
did your parents see this?
Yes.
And I take it didn't sit too well.
It did not sit too well with my parents at all. But, you know, they said, I said, oh, okay, you know, you working, you know, cutting lawn. By this time, I was recognized in the among the white rich people as being a very good lawn keeper. They all, I mean, they almost had to make appointments with me to come do their lawn, because you know they knew that they was going to get a good job, a full day's work, you know, and a very respectable young man. And so, and my mother said, now you know, them white folks ain't gonna like this. You know, and I realized that, but then, you know, I had been, now I'm on TV, not because I wanted to be, just strictly circumstances. There were other people in the movement who had, you know, should have, you know, for out front, they should have been out front. But I just got caught up in a situation where the camera was on me, and so everybody, you know, and so then I was stuck out there. And then, you know, I had been a participant, you know, all along, but then I really got bold, you know, in support of the movement. You know, I would take my father's car, you know, take people where they needed to go. You know, I really got involved to the point that my father's car got recognized, and Dad hadn't had a ticket in ages, and he got a ticket for failing to yield the right of way. No car was coming. It was a yield right of way sign. He was the only car there. And they gave him a ticket for failing to yield the right of way. You know, they recognized the car. The car shouldn't have been, you know, where, you know, they knew the car, so
now did you use that in that bus boycott?
Yeah, he understood, you know, what was going on. And then, you know, the movement got moving, we got larger, you know, a lot of things happened. And then Dr. King came to town, and we all went to jail.
Now tell me about that. Going marching and ended up going to jail.
Well, this time we went marching again without a permit. But this time, since we got so much publicity, see, when we pulled the students off campus, we didn't have a permit. But we didn't have any high profile, you know. And the policeman was very nice, told me what to tell the people to do. But this time it was, I mean, we were now in a movement type environment. You know, we were doing things, had mass meetings, we had organized, Dr. King was in town. And we had a mass meeting, and we went marching downtown. And they told us that, you know, we didn't have a permit, so we couldn't go any farther. We kneeled and we prayed, and we finished praying, and we was going to go, and they just pulled up vehicles from everywhere. And they just arrested us in groves. Arrested us, and they were, the policemen were very well organized. They arrested us and grab you and shove you in one line and put you on a bus. And they didn't tell you where you were going or what you was going to do when you got where you were going.
So where did you end up going?
I really don't remember what city they sent me to. The only thing I remember is that we got the word, you know, the word was out that the local people had gotten the word out that we had Freedom Riders in their jail. And the local people wanted to come see Freedom Riders. And when they did, they were very disappointed. I don't know what they came looking for. But when they came, they concluded that, they are just a bunch of and we know how to handle.
Were they outside taunting
Yeah,
you guys?
that's right. They knew how to handle us.
You know where that was? That was Newton.
Maybe so, but they knew.
There were other students that said that. Told me the exact same thing.
They knew how to handle. So
chanting "Freedom Riders, Freedom Riders."
That's right. They just they identified with what they thought we were. And
now,
so
once you're in there,
right, and so that was a new experience for me.
What was it like behind bars?
It was.
What did it look like?
It was, it was a lot. We were high spirited until they closed that door. When you heard that lock close, that broke a whole lot of spirit. Yeah, no one was that excited, about where we were or anything like that.
How'd you deal with that?
Well, it was a shocker, but I knew that if the word got back to my parents that I was in jail, that they were going to get me out. So I, that took care of a lot of my concern. But there was a friend of mine was in the jail with me, Bobby Birch, and we talked about that. We were local, and we were saying that we had a lot of students there who were from out of town. And we kind of made a pact that, we would stay until all the students were at least released. Cause we felt like anytime we wanted to, we could get out. And so that did it. And then that wasn't too bad, but eventually they had to feed us. And when they came to feed us, they had a large wash tub, and it was filled with grits. And they had their big German Shepherd dog there with them. And the German Shepherd dog was slobbing in the grits as they, prepare and stir them for you, Good thing I wasn't very hungry because I lost my appetite. Those that were hungry just had to forget about that and eat, They really did. But that, I'll never forget that as long as I live. Because, and after that, we were concerned. We were concerned as to really whether we was going to make it through the night. Because we were aware that the local citizens, once they had realized who we were, and that they had convinced themselves that they knew how to handle our kind, we were convinced that they did. And so, till this date, I don't know how, but before the night was over, somebody sent a bus. They released us from jail. Someone sent a school bus came and got us out of that city and brought us back to Albany and released us. We were very excited and very happy about that. I won't tell anybody. I was very happy to get released from jail.
Now, after getting out, What was the story you told your parents?
they knew, you know, that wasn't anything to tell because they knew what had happened. You know, they said, oh, okay, now, boy, you know, you ain't got no business being in jail. We've kept you out of jail all of your life. And here you are, up here getting into trouble. And I said, well, and I said, it was one of those things that I wanted to do, and I said, if I have the choice, I said I would do it over again, you know. And so they didn't dwell on it, you know. They didn't dwell on it very much at all.
But you continued in your activities.
I continued in my activities. You know, I continued because, you know, we had everything. And then, before the year was over, you know, we got arrested. We didn't think anything, you know, about it. I continued supporting the movement, everything. Doing everything we needed to do. You know, going down, arresting people at the bus station, everything. And lo and behold, I get a letter from the president of the college telling me that I have a hearing coming up.
That's the next question I was going to ask
Yeah.
you. When did you find out you were suspended?
Well, it
or
was
expelled from Albany State?
It was I think close to the end of December, I think it was. Or what? After that arresting, I got a letter telling me that I had a hearing coming up, and when my time came for the hearing, I went in, and they invited me in, and I asked the president if I could bring my lawyer. I didn't have a lawyer, couldn't afford a lawyer. But I wasn't about to just go, you know. And he explained to me that no lawyers were not allowed, you know. Okay, and because he brought me in, and I had to stand there while he read this prepared statement. You know, and you know, he read his prepared statement, and told me I could leave, and I said, you know, what if I don't want to leave? And he explained to me that I was on state property. And if I didn't leave, he would call the state troopers and have me removed.
So then, did your parents come back to try to make an appeal to him with the other parents that did come in?
No.
What was their feeling about your having been, you know, kicked out of the college?
Well, you know, I was kicked out of college, and I did not. Had been suspended, and I really didn't know. You know, and this must have been about this. I didn't know, you know, what I was going to, you know, do next. I really didn't, you know, because I was, you know, I had different options, you know, that I was thinking about, because, you know, I had a couple of brothers at that time were in the military, you know, so I had that option available to me, and I had the option of considering applying to, you know, another school, and I had not made up my mind exactly what it was I was going to do. And before I had to make up my mind, you know, I think I got a letter saying that Morehouse College had accepted me. That they were willing to accept me and my transcript as it was.
Now, do you remember anything about Irene Wright?
I remember Irene Wright. I remember her. Yeah, she was, yeah. But I didn't know, I really didn't know
That she had done that.
who did what.
Okay.
In fact, to this day, until you said it, I never knew.
She and Slater King. were the ones who arranged admission for you and I believe it was 6 other students to go to black colleges around in the South.
Right. I didn't know who did it because the next thing I knew, I had gotten a notice, that Morehouse said I could come to school.
You just talked about why. Now, tell me this. What do you remember, if anything, about William H. Dennis that was the president?
I had now, I have much more respect for Dr. Dennis now than I did then. When things start, getting heated and things were changing, he was not a person for change. And that at the time, that really, gave me a lot of heartburn. I felt that he had been put in a position. He was in a position that could cause a lot of things to happen, to cause a lot of improvements, even within the society, and he had chose not, to do that. William H. Dennis. He was the president. He had been there for a while.
Mm-hmm. From 1953 onward.
Now, there was an incident, and I think I was in the 7th grade in elementary school. Mary McLeod Bethune came to Albany State. And see, and I'm still in a one classroom situation with my one teacher. And she just thought it would be the greatest experience in the world to take us up to Albany State so that we could meet Mary McLeod Bethune. She agreed, everyone agreed. We went up, and wouldn't you know, the day we went up, it started to rain. And so we went into the garage of the president's house. And the president, Dr. Dennis, sent word that it was raining. Miss Bethune should not go out in the weather. So we could stay in the garage and see her from the window. And it was Mary McLeod Bethune who said, either they come in or I'm going out. So, I really didn't have a whole lot of love for Dr. Dennis to start with, because when I thought I knew the kind of person he was. And after getting there, I found out that I was so true. But as I look back now, and God bless his soul, I hate the man died, but I had to stop and ask myself a question. If I had been in that position at that time, making, that kind of money, would I have been willing to risk that for what I saw just a bunch of, hard-headed students who really didn't know, what it was they wanted or where they was going? See, I stopped and asked myself, did he really think that what he was doing was in our best interest? Now, at the time when all this took place, I had already concluded that type of individual he was. But during this time, I think the Albany movement made a great mistake. Once we got expelled, Dr. Dennis did what he did and expelled us. Then we spent too much effort as a movement castigating Dr. Dennis. I mean, we had songs, we put him in the same category of everybody else, had songs we sing about him, etc. When, as I look now, he was just a small instrument. But it took our focus off of the big problem. And that I do regret. If there was, in all of my action in doing it, if there was one thing I could have changed, I would have changed it. Because when you realize it, he was just reacting to the system. Because it was the system that had all of a sudden passed a law. But he had the option to enforce this law in the manner that he wanted to. And what really got me is he picked and chose when he decided to enforce it. If you were arrested and had nothing to do with the civil rights movement, you didn't have to get suspended. And see, that's not what the law said. The law said if you were arrested. And so he chose to implement the law in a manner to make himself look good, in the eyes of his leaders. And I'm quite sure that they had instructed him exactly what he was to do. And so when he called me in and read me my sentence, I didn't think at all about, the system or who was pulling the strings. All I knew was this individual here was impacting me for something as far as I was concerned. I had done absolutely no wrong. And so it didn't bother me at all at that time to join it with everyone else talking about Dennis. But now that I look back over it, he was a victim of the system.
Okay.
That's right.